Tu Quoque. I mentioned in another video, I never know how to pronounce it. Even when I look online how to pronounce it, you're going to hear people say Tu Quoque, Tu Quoque. When I look at it and I'm thinking Spanish, I'm pronouncing it Tu Quoque. But apparently Tu Quoque is the most common way to pronounce this particular fallacy. And it just means you two. That's basically all it means in Latin is you two. It falls under the category of an ad hominem fallacy, but it's specific because it's really trying to point out the hypocrisy in the person talking. So in my previous video, I talked about smoking. If I'm trying to convince somebody to stop smoking, but I smoke, then they can easily just point at me and say, hey, but you're a hypocrite, you smoke too. Well, that's irrelevant, right? Because my hypocrisy does zero damage to the actual argument itself. My hypocrisy has nothing to do with the actual science behind what I'm saying. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy explains the Tu Quoque fallacy as not accepting a view or recommendation because the speaker does not follow it. Right? Not accepting a view or recommendation because the speaker does not follow it. This is like dismissing the message because of the messenger. And again, this is just like an ad hominem. It's people focusing on the character, but the specific kind of character flaw is hypocrisy, right? So instead of abusing the speaker themselves because of their character or pointing to their background, that would be the circumstantial ad hominem. It's pointing to you and the hypocrisy and saying something like, you don't practice what you preach. Now that may seem like a knockout punch for the person who does it, right? It may seem like if they point to you and say that you're a hypocrite, or you can point to them and say that they're a hypocrite, that's just a knockdown, drag out, end of discussion, but it actually doesn't do anything for the argument, right? That often gives us time to save face, right? If somebody's telling me to stop smoking and yet they're smoking, then that makes it easy for me to get off the hook because they don't practice what they preach. It's also easier to blast a person for their hypocrisy than to deal with the evidence. It's also, funny if you're doing this in front of people because the day room loves a quick clapback. Like that's when everybody in the day room will be like, ooh, look at you, you're a hypocrite. All right. But whether or not the person or the messenger walks the walk doesn't decide if the evidence is actually true. Right. Your dentist could eat candy by the pound, but the fact is that candy and sugar still cause cavities. I hope I'm elaborating this enough, right? This is the kind of thing, all of these fallacies are really the kind of thing that need to be drilled into people's heads because they enable us to think clearer, right? And have a better sense of the world. When my dentist tells me to stop eating, all these different things because it's going to negatively affect my teeth, it doesn't matter what he does in his personal life, right? Unless the behaviors that he exhibits in his personal life have some sort of scientific evidence behind them. But if he's a hypocrite, that's irrelevant. Is the information he's presenting to me factual, accurate, and true? Right? So when you're dealing with another person, is the argument factual, reliable, true, or not? Focus on that, not their hypocrisy. I think this would help quite a bit in religious discussions, right? Because, in religious discussions, it is, especially in the Christian context, people will say, I'm not really trying to hear what you're saying because look at you and your life. Now, in the Christian context, as opposed to the Muslim or the Jewish or many other faiths, in the Christian context, a person who proclaims to be a Christian should have some demonstrably different life. They should actually have some evidence that shows that their life is different and that they are living it in a way that's different from everybody else's. They should. But whether or not they actually do is a different story. However, it doesn't really matter. So it doesn't matter how many, Muslim terrorists blow stuff up. The question is that what the Quran actually promotes? It does it or does it not? It doesn't matter whether or not a bunch of Catholic priests molested kids. Does the Bible advocate that or not? The hypocrisy in the believers is almost most of the time irrelevant. The question is, does the thing that they follow actually advocate that kind of behavior or not? All right, so if you need to ask yourself when you're responding to people or when they're responding to you, are they attacking who said the thing or what was actually said. If they're attacking who said the thing, then they're attacking the person and their hypocrisy. They should be attacking the actual evidence. And knowing that pointing out hypocrisy and inconsistency is not a case closed for the actual argument. So when another person is doing this to you, when they're saying maybe that you're the hypocrite, then you might want to just acknowledge it. Yeah, right? Like in the smoking example. Yeah, I smoke too, fair call. But focus on the facts. What about the actual facts in science, right? Don't worry about what I'm doing, right? What do the actual facts say? Maybe offer solidarity in that situation and say, yeah, well, you're right. How about we both quit, right? Something like that. So stay calm and don't get into this jab of going back and forth about people's character and behavior, right? Because a criminal or a convict can still remind you to follow the rules. A crooked preacher can still tell you to love your neighbor and they can be right. So don't confuse the messenger's mess with the message's merit. Maybe that's a way to think of it. Don't confuse the messenger's mess with the message's merit, right? So next time somebody says, well, you too, you're doing it, you just say, sure, right? But is the claim still solid? Is the evidence still good?
Slide, it's a banger.